Hi everybody, Adrian Plass here.
Yeah, I'm Bridget. Hello.
And from where I sit, I can see a sight that makes my heart lift. I have wisteria hysteria once again. And I was worried because it got very dry around here. And I thought the wisteria was looking a bit sad, but I don't think it is. It's come back to life.
It has, yeah. And this is number 39, isn't it? So tomorrow is 40, and I think we should celebrate, really.
Yeah, perhaps someone would send us a ruby. Because it's the 40th one.
Yeah. Do you want to just say that again?
Someone might send us a ruby. I think we're being a little hopeful.
Yes, maybe we'll get a tomato. Anyway, one of the things we're picking up from you is how things can go wrong even in the most safe places. You know, we were talking about somebody working at their laptop and their cat skidding across the table and banging into the computer. Well, we heard from somebody who was just simply on their daily walk until they met a very unfriendly cow who clearly hadn't read anything about social distances and caused her to leap over a stile at a very, very, very fast rate.
I don't know, she leapt. She went over it faster than she'd ever gone over a stile in her life.
Leaping might be an exaggeration. Well, of course, yesterday was VE Day. I don't think any of us could have missed it, and it was incredibly moving. And the stark contrast constantly was made between the crowds on that day and people celebrating in their back gardens and having tea.
Yeah, we could hear them, actually. Lots of people having tea in their gardens. But I would just like to remind you of a very, very old saying, which is a warning about this, and it goes like this, a rural saying. A picnic tea with sausage rolls will bring a plague of angry moles.
So watch out for that in the future.
I'm serious. Watch out for angry moles.
Well, I was thinking, as we are hearing from quite a few people in Australia and in New Zealand, that they're not celebrating victory in Europe. They had their own Anzac Day, but they are celebrating something, actually. They're celebrating the fact that they're moving very positively out of lockdown now, and that lots of things are opening, and I think church services are beginning again, and I'm not sure when schools are opening, but it's all good news.
Absolutely. I don't feel a trace of envy.
Well, I suppose it's a reminder that it will end and things will change. Yeah. And there were a lot of reminders. There were a lot in the bit that I was watching on television, reminders about the similarities between life in England in the, certainly, I don't know about elsewhere, but during the war and the sort of lockdown situation we're in now.
Yeah, I remembered actually, after my mother died and we were clearing out the attic, I remember us finding these large black curtains, and it was a while before we realised they were blackout curtains.
Oh, yeah,
and when I thought of that, I also remembered there was a Home Guard uniform hanging in the front room. That obviously my father wore at some point. There were lots of... there was a shell, a German shell in the larder, which I had completely forgotten. So actually, when I look back, I was right on the end of the...
Well, you were just after, weren't you?
Where were you? On
V-Day, I was in my mother's stomach, waiting to be born, in a womb rather, not a stomach.
No, another similarity is that we... about doing what you're told. You had to put your blackout curtains up, and you had to be home at a certain time.
Yeah.
So that was
Absolutely. There was
similar.
Curfew, there was rationing, there was an awful lot of things, and people were putting up with a lot. But I was also reminded yesterday, as I'm sure many of you were, I don't know if you saw the film about the darkest hour, the period in the middle of the darkness, where it looked as though everything was hopeless. It looked as though we weren't going to get back all the guys who were stranded on the beach in France. It looked as though we were definitely not going to win this particular battle. And it made me think, really, that during that time, some of the things you needed were perhaps very similar to the things we need now, although, of course, we're not rationed. We can have chocolate biscuits, and there's plenty of milk and eggs and all things like that.
Well, that's a big difference, yeah. Well, perhaps you needed a friend.
Yep. In every dark tunnel, you need a friend, don't you?
You still need a friend in dark tunnels. and you need to, what else? Dig deep.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I mean, that was one of the phrases, wasn't it, during the period of the war, that you had to dig deep for victory. And that then, of course, meant digging for carrots and swedes and potatoes and all sorts of things. But it also meant...
It's a very interesting parallel, because the thing that is similar is that this situation, being in lockdown, being under the pressure of the effect of the virus, has a profoundly excavating effect on us, and brings things to the surface that we've not really thought about, because the distractions are myriad. I mean, we have so many things to to occupy us.
Well, that's right.
And one of them is death. I mean, I think if I was going to say one thing that I think has really struck people, is that people die. You know,
it's visible.
It's visible, and you can't get distracted from it in the same way.
Yeah. Well, interestingly, before this virus, we used to be laughing, didn't we, about the fact that getting to our age, we seem to be being bombarded by adverts about insurance policies.
Then trying to pretend that it was all going to be fine. And we have a little sketch to read to you, which is... you might remember one of those adverts when you listen to this. Hello there, Jean from next door. Have you come to get your parsnip pan back?
That's right. And what are you up to, George, who lives here? You're looking very merry and bright.
Well, yes, I'm having a great time. I'm planning my death. I'm just looking through this wonderful funeral plan insurance agreement that I signed up last week.
Oh, how interesting. What fun.
Yes, look, right on the top it says, sign up with us and your funeral payment worries will be dead and buried.
Oh, I like that. I really like that. I like the caring tone. George, do you think I'd like this firm? In the past, I've always worried that funeral insurance people might be a bit, insensitive.
Oh, not these people, Jean. Here, you read this. Look at this. Look, just read this out.
Oh, let me have a look. Oh, by signing up here, you'll say goodbye to fear where kicking the bucket's concerned. As you hit the deck, we'll be writing a cheque for your corpse to be buried or burned.
Isn't that lovely?
Oh, isn't that lovely?
That's so lovely.
It's a lovely, light and caring touch. Do you know what, George? It really makes me feel I'd like to die.
Well, that's exactly how I feel. I want to die. So looking forward to it now.
You know what, George? I think I'll sign up as well.
Well, I really hope you do, Jean, because that's not all that's on offer.
Oh, you mean there's something else? I can't believe it, George.
Listen to this, Jean from next door. If you and I sign up,
yes,
and we're lucky enough to die within a year of signing, guess what we get?
Well, what's that then, George?
We get a pen. Of course, the family have to send in the death certificate and all that.
Oh, of course. But the pens are definite.
Jean, it's here in black and white.
A free pen. I'm going to get a form and sign it right away. My son and daughter will be over the moon when they find they don't have to pay for my funeral. And your family must be so thrilled, George.
Oh, they are, Jean. And of course, they all get a lump sum when I die.
Not a pen, then.
Oh, not on your life. That'll be our little treat, Jean. Mum and Dad, we get the pens. Oh, we've had a few laughs in the family lately, I can tell you. Yesterday, my oldest accidentally gave me a little playful push at the top of the stairs. Easy, I said, wagging my finger at him in fun, or you'll be collecting your lump sum earlier than you thought.
Unbelievable, really. It was as though we could bypass the pain. And as long as we got a lump sum, somehow our family would be fine. No one would grieve. My goodness me, how that has changed. And in fact, those adverts aren't around, thank goodness, anymore. It's nothing about insurance plans. That's a really good idea. It's just about that idea, isn't it?
Death is I won't call it what I think it is, but we've had one or two emails, haven't we, about people who've lost
Actually, we
people
have.
they love, and it's
Yeah,
hard.
absolutely.
I'll read you something that I wrote on the day my mother died. On the day my mother died, I huddled by a lake and swore. You should have seen that word go spinning like a flat white stone across the surface of the water. God caught it on the other side, walked round the lake, and placed it in my hand. You can have this back, he said. I'll keep the pain. And then he smiled, and he sat beside me for a while.
I don't know if you know that children's story. You know the one, Adrian, I'm going on a bear hunt? I love it.
I do remember
I
it
love
very
the
well,
fact
yeah.
that lots of children walking around towns at the moment in their one walk are looking out for teddy bears and rainbows in windows. They're on a different sort of bear hunt. But one of the things that I remember so well is the lines, you can't go over it, you can't go round it, you can't go under it, you've got to go through it.
Yeah,
And
I do
that's the
remember
truth of
that,
it,
yeah.
isn't it? You've got to go through it. And yesterday, there was a lot of reminder of that, wasn't there? There was
There
a lot
was
of
indeed,
reminder
yeah.
of the fact that people have had to go through it, that there was an enormous amount of sacrifice during the war, and that's what we're not forgetting.
It's very uncomfortable, I think, for a lot of people to, well, not other people, us, to look at the reality of what's happening, and to remember sacrifice, as you said. I was thinking of our daughter, Kate, and when she was very small, old enough to talk.
Oh, do you mean when we went on a bike trip?
We went to
France.
and we all went on our bikes. We went over on the ferry on our bikes, and she was in some basket-like contraption
She was in sort of bucket
on the back of my bicycle.
She was.
And it was the nearest thing to hell I've ever known. I think we would be cycling up a very steep French hill, and Kate would say, "Are we there yet?" And I'd say, "No, we are not there yet." I began to feel very sympathetic with Moses. "Are we there yet?" "No, we're not there yet." "How long will it be?" 40 years. I'll be dead by then. I hope so. No, I don't.
Well, they were a bit like that. Yeah.
Anyway, it was okay though. It was quite fun.
Of course
And
it was.
we did a big loop from Dieppe, stopped for lunch, of course, etc. And we came back to Dieppe, and we had some time to spare before the ferry went. So we went to a church, lovely big church in Dieppe, and looked round it. And as we walked round at that strange museum pace you do in churches, I came across Kate staring at something. She was staring at a statue of Mary, the mother of Jesus, holding her son's body in her arms, and it was life-size and ground level, and she was just staring at it like little children do. And she turned round to me when I came up, and she said, "Daddy, why has he got a hole in his side?" And I thought, oh no, because we'd never explained the crucifixion or anything like that. And there was a cross up on the wall, actually a crucifixion up on the wall above this statue. And I said, "Well, Kate, the thing is, the Roman soldiers killed Jesus, and this was a spear that they made a hole in his side." And Kate said, "Killed Jesus because she liked you. Why would you want to kill Jesus?" And then she looked at it again, and she said, "Daddy, he's got holes in his feet. Why has he got holes in his feet?"
Yeah.
And I thought, well, dear. So I said, well, they nailed his feet to that thing up there is called a cross. It was made of wood, and they nailed his feet to it, and that's what the holes are. Nailed his feet. And I knew what was going to happen next, obviously, and I dreaded it. And she said, "Daddy, he's got holes in his hands." They didn't nail his hands, did they? And everything in me wanted to say, no, of course not. Who on earth would ever nail anyone's hands to a piece of wood? But I knew I'd have to. And I said, "Kate, I'm afraid they did. They nailed his hands and they nailed his feet and they pushed a spear into his side. And that's what all those holes are." And dear old Kate went over to the statue right up close, and she laid her face down on his knee, and she said, "Poor Jesus." And as you know, I spend my time trying to think of things that are funny or interesting or whatever.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time over it, and just for a moment standing there, all I wanted was to go back to the moment when, right down deep inside, I realized that he died for me. Jesus died for me, and it really hurt. And just to look at that sacrifice once more.
Yeah.
And it was him who said, anyone who lays down their life for a friend, it's the greatest thing you can do. And there are people doing that every single day.
Oh, there really are. And that's where we come right back to the NHS and right back to the frontline people in the care homes and right back to an awful lot of lovely people who are not part of that band, but who in their lives, whether they're young or old, have actually put themselves last and in that sense laid down their lives for their friends.
So we're really thankful for them, as I think most other people are, and let's hope it doesn't go on for too much longer, because it's very, very hard to take, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll see you next time.
See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.